Chapter 3, Reimuru makes a deal ya haluo? I'd like to explain a few things that some of you may have wondered about. Why is there a femrimuru? So, when I look at all these fanarts and the anime itself in general, I've always just wanted to do something like this. What I don't take into account in this fanfic is that Reimuru is a genderless slime. I don't care about that at all. You can say what you want, but as I look at some of the fanart I feel better knowing that my fanfic Reimuru that I wrote is a female. Whisper maybe I will do pairing, who knows. Whisper Reimuru is more OCC in this fanfic, that's obvious, right? After all, I'm not the author of the original Tensura, I am the author of this fanfic. And besides, I never try so hard to make the character the same as in the original. So please, don't make fuss, not that I care. Reimuru is immortal in practically every aspect. I did it because I wanted to. I like it when characters are eons, thousands, millions of years old. I don't know, it adds that little something extra to the character for me. What happened to the great sage /Raphael/Seal or whatever it/his/her name is? Honestly I don't know anymore. XD. It will be explained later and Seal will probably come back very later, but it depends if I want to write a continuation. I'm not saying I won't write more, don't get me wrong please. Why Reimuru doesn't remember anything? Hello? He is slime, his memory's capability is infinite, so why? Same thing with Seal, I won't tell you until some time. The Narutoverse will also be a little different, but many things won't change. I hope at least. Today I'm going to try to write a slightly longer chapter than the rest, but I'm not promising anything. As if anything, English is my second language, there may be mistakes. I don't understand. The sage looked at her questioningly. Why you prefer to observe rather than act while you see what's going on down below? Hagoromo at Satsuki wasn't surprised by the question, as he had asked himself it several hundred times. Was true that he had only observed what was happening in the shinobi world, wars, deaths, people hatred towards each other. For Shinigami's sake he had even witnessed when a person was so disgusted with themselves and all the harm they caused people. Suicides were a normal occurrence. Such cases were frequent, usually committed by people who had seen too much, who could no longer face the cruelty of the world mentally. Even veterans had huge problems with themselves, mentally broken down, but ready to do it again to protect something precious to them. This was the norm and would be the norm in this shinobi world. No one really cared about changing the world for the better. The people who preached the truth about a peaceful world were just talking, not taking action. Words can hurt hard, but they are still just words. In turn, people who tried to make a difference with their actions ended up on the wrong path. Older Atsutsuki had seen many such cases. He was considered the god of this world by many. A myth, a legend, so why was he so weak? He could have changed it. After all, he only had an astral body. The excuse that he couldn't take physical form was still just an excuse. The truth, still, was that Hagoromo was protecting this world from a more dangerous evil. It is already enough that he used up most of his power to fight the opposite Atsutsuki. If they send another one for his head it would be a disaster. In short, the situation was catastrophic. Even though he told himself that he was giving it his all, he couldn't help but feel some of the guilt on himself as his Rinnegan looked at the shinobi fighting against each other. The dream that one day there would be true peace was distant, almost impossible. He felt miserable. He didn't even notice the big amber eyes seeing through him, forgetting completely about the question the person asked him in the first place. The looming headache didn't help either, as he felt himself overthinking again. You shouldn't be so harsh to yourself. The voice forced him to shake himself out of the trance. Clearly I can see that you try your best, even if you make mistakes you at least learn from them. Hagoromo never thought he would be lectured by this very person. There was once a time when I had such musings myself. If you blame yourself for the fate of the whole world you will never feel the relief you so dream of. The old sage had never seen her so serious on the subject. You are a protector for this planet, not a peacemaker as far as I can see, right? You have no obligation to bring peace to this world. You can help, but you can't carry the whole burden of the world on your shoulders. It makes no sense. It's like you're leading them by the hand all the time. They are not children, their knowledge and development of the mind process is as efficient as yours. People have to fight their own problems to learn how to overcome them. Hagoromo chuckled as she had to take a deep breath after saying all those lines. After a moment, however, His face became serious again with brow furrowed. I realize what you mean, Rimuru. But do you think it is a good thing for God to stand by and watch everything instead of taking action? Does such a God make sense? It is the lack of God's interference that causes confusion in other dimensions in the form of wars as well. That's exactly what I was talking about. Who decided you, the God of this world, to make decisions on all people? Do they know about you trying to interfere? Good thing you're at least better than the other gods I've encountered after exploring the dimensions, otherwise I'd have to kill you. The atmosphere became heavy. A battle of glares was going on. The Rinnegan meeting again with overconfident, now quite fearsome glowing eyes that seemed to see even through Hagoromo. After a while, Hagoromo sighed. Maybe you're right, maybe I shouldn't act that way. I'm too old for this. Don't get me wrong, Gramps, good deeds will never be bad. Reimuru explained further, our mental toughness is not too different from those at the bottom. Everyone has the right to rest. I never thought you were so philosophical though. Hagoromo laughed, causing Reimuru to blush a little. The old sage, seeing the almost unnoticeable blush, began to laugh even louder. Averting his eyes, Reimuru gritted her teeth on the outside, but inside she felt happy about the interaction and that her assumption about Gramps that he is good guy had come true. After you finish protecting this world, maybe you can come with me to another dimension, I'll show you some interesting things. What do you think? She asked hesitantly. Hagoromo could see her now as her huge eyes begged him for company. Subconsciously he wanted to say yes, but he knew he had to say no, even if it crushed her expectations. Sorry, but I'm not immortal, Reimuru. I only have a very long lifespan, and I wish to use my remaining time in order to protect this world. It's my legacy. He saw her eyes snap in half. It pained him, but it must be done so. Still, how much time did Reimuru have to spend in the void to feel such loneliness? Where are her friends? Oh, not even a tear came out of the corners of her eyes, which worried him, just a flat response as if she was used to it. Hagoromo had never felt so bad about himself before. Look, no, there's no problem at all. I can't be selfish all the time and I know it. He remembered how he had created 9 Biju to not only defeat the 10-tailed, but also to keep himself company. Could you teach me how to create such things? Reimuru's words rang in his ears like a big bell as he realized that was her purpose with granting her wish. She just wanted to create a friend for herself. And he blatantly stipulated an exchange. She would grant his request while he granted hers. His disgust with himself grew even stronger, but he couldn't help it anymore. I promise you, Reimuru, when this is all over, I will help you as much as I can. In order to save this world, Hagoromo definitely needed Reimuru, even if he had to manipulate her. Minato Namikaze was fighting a masked man who called himself Madara Uchiha. He had already managed to hit him with a Rasengan blow, creating serious damage to his enemy. However, the fight didn't end there, as Kyuubi was released at this time, putting Minato in great tension. Fighting Kyuubi and the masked man gave him no time to think carefully over his actions. The masked man, who Minato refused to believe was Madara Uchiha, was a difficult opponent to defeat, but not invincible. Minato did well in battle. After all, he didn't get the Hokage title for nothing. Blonde Shinobi didn't have time. Kyuubi was about to attack the village again at once, so Minato quickly moved towards him, backing away from the injured Uchiha. Behind. Faster than ever, he dodged the spiked ball attack from behind, feeling a presence behind his back, a strand of his hair sliced through. Apparently, the supposed Madara will not let him rest. Ugh. The Uchiha didn't look happy with the failed attempt and moved in on Minato with a full attack. The weapons clashed, creating a clunk sound. Minato had to dodge another of Madara's hands that wanted to go reach him. Why are you doing this? Is this because of Kyuubi? Minato expected to get no response when his enemy was just trying to take his life. Always worth a try though. Not wanting to waste his breath talking like to the wall, the 4th Hokage blocked and dodged further attack attempts. He doesn't answer. He doesn't try to enter conversation. This only confirms the theory that it's not Madara Uchiha. He's just an imposter, trying to do something with Kyuubi. After a moment, a scream filled the air that Minato knew all too well. Kushina. His eyes hardened, prepared to end the fight quickly. Wasting no time, Minato high-shined behind his opponent using the previous mark on enemy's back, showing his superior speed. Obito, meanwhile, looked to have predicted this, using Kamui quickly and avoiding a dangerous three-bladed kunao attack from behind. Blonde Shinobi went through him while Obito immediately made a swing with a chain with a spiked ball on the end, hitting Minato's head. Expecting bloodshed. Poof ** clone. The masked man looked in all directions, searching for Minato, above. The broken hero looked up with blinking speed, expecting already done blue sphere but nothing. Wrong. From below. The ground exploded and the last thing Obito heard was a voice ringing in his ears before he felt immense pain. Screaming in agony he fell to the ground. Expect the unexpected, your technique is also your weakness. Minato stood over the defeated body of the masked man. He is powerful but inexperienced. This is just another reason that scream he is not Madara Uchiha. Suddenly, Minato remembered something. No, a scream? I have to go to Kushina. Recalling the scream of Kushina, Minato immediately moved towards Kuwabai, not noticing the dark shadow that was watching everything displeased from distance. The dark shadow wasn't aware that it itself also is observed. The Queen of Monsters and the Sage of the Six Paths watched everything from the sky, invisible thanks to the spells cast by Reimuru. She was flying using her wings while Hagoromo levitated on the truth-seeking orbs. What in the 5429 dimensions I have been is this? Reimuru pointed her finger at a dark shadow hiding in the ground. This is Black Zetsu. Hagoromo replied, feeling his tongue twist in displeasure. This thing literally leaks with evil. The darkness that Reimuru sensed from this creature disgusted her. She felt as if Black Zetsu felt with nothing but malice. Hagoromo looked at her out of the corner of his eye, silently agreeing, it is a manifestation of my mother's will. It's scheming evil plans while I'm doing other things. He's devious, and incredibly hard to catch. Older Satsuki felt his hand spontaneously clench into a fist. Reimuru sounded out her thoughts about the creature. Ugh. Ugh indeed. Hagoromo nodded sagely. Let's kill it. No. Why? Black Zetsu is crucial to my plans. Reimuru swallowed and nodded. The blue-haired kept her eyes on Minato the entire time, while Hagoromo monitored Kyuubi's behavior. Can we help them? Not yet. The sage denied request. Why? They need our help. The blonde guy is already not making it against the big bad fox. The tomato girl is about to die. I can sense her heart slowly stop beating. Reimuru. The older Satsuki said gravely. Reimuru meanwhile bit her delicate lip. The Sage of the Six Paths also wanted to help with the situation, but the actions they are now going to create through their actions should be executed flawlessly. If he makes a mistake here, the consequences will be tremendous. Hagoromo must make good use of the fact that Reimuru is also here and is tasked with following his orders for the duration of the contract to protect one of his reincarnations. After all, Naruto is the child of the prophecy, the one who will save this world. Roar. The roar echoed so powerfully that a wave of wind tore some trees from their roots. You should keep your pets on a leash, Gramps. They're causing too much fuss. Hagoromo cocked his head from left to right. Sorry about him. Usually Kurama doesn't behave like this. He's distraught because he woke up from Madara's control. Kurama. It's his name. Please don't treat him like a wild animal. Reimuru. Famu. During this time, Hagoromo explained to Reimuru what Jinchuriki were and how humans turned them into dangerous monsters and sealed them inside themselves. Why Biju should have freedom and that sealing is what angered them in the first place, considering their taken freedom. I see. Human beings have always had strange ideas, but to seal such powerful beasts within themselves and use them in military combat. Ha ha ha, that's a new level of imbecility. Hagoromo sighed and exasperated. People try to control what they fear. This is not wrong, it is in human nature. However, they do not realize that Biju have a soul and feelings. Well, you're not wrong in this one. Hey look. Hey. Demonic growls were unleashed. Hagoromo forgot that he was tasked with watching the fight, and before he knew it he saw Kuwabai pierce Minato and Kushina with its deadly claw. Shit, we're late. Hagoromo grabbed her hand quickly before she could fly away. No, we are not. Everything is going according to my plan. Reimuru ugged, a serious face present on her face masking her worry about the infant. They are dying? He is your son's reincarnation, isn't he? Her pretty blue hair almost hit him when she eyed him. Hagoromo nodded his head and explained, the death of his parents grieves me as well, but it is needed to save the world. Oh, how so? The Monster Queen demanded an answer with one brow raised. I don't remember there being an option in our contract for you to have a right to object or ask about my procedures, Reimuru. The sage reminded with steely eyes. Reimuru, despite her sometimes scary appearance, was actually one of the kindest souls he had met, but he didn't have time for that now. The beautiful girl really had no idea what Hagoromo planned to do with her assistants if not save them. Kubi managed to get out of Gamabunta's grasp. The battlefield suddenly became quiet. Kushina. The blonde man coughed out a weak voice, knowing they didn't have much time. The redhead's eyes widened slightly, tiny tears beginning to form. Please don't. I don't want Naruto to have his childhood ruined by our decision. You know we have no other choice. Goho. As Hokage, it is my job to protect the leaf. As much as it's your job to protect your child. Minato heard his voice in the back of his head, but was forced to ignore it. He is beautiful, Minato. Minato looked at his son, seeing his own appearance features. His heart was breaking, knowing what he was about to do. Breath in, breath out. He thought to calm himself and opened his determinate eyes. Shiki Fujin. Suddenly, a huge levitating figure with a mask, Shinigami, emerged from Minato. I will seal the other half. In Naruto with the 8 trigram seal. He waited to see if his wife would say something, but she fell silent. Minato took that as confirmation, knowing that Kushina was already distraught enough about the situation. I realized 2 things today. First, the masked man that attacked you and me will surely direct the worlds into chaos. And this boy, Jiraiya-sensei's godchild, will clear our path to better end, as a Jinchuriki and our son. Minato took a deep breath, preparing for his last moments. He's our son. Minato. The blonde looked at her with sadness visible in the eyes. It's just me who wants to see him grows up? Doing this just to maintain the balance between all Biju. Abandoning one's nation, and abandoning one's village, is the same as abandoning one's child, Kushina. You should understand, since your nation was destroyed. I'm not doing this just for you, but for all of us. They looked into each other's eyes, many emotions running through them. Sadness, grief, and even rage. It's time. Minato felt as if his stomach was starting to burn. The seal made its mark on his stomach. Yondaime? Don't you dare. Kuabai growled, apparently also knew what was about to happen. 8 trigram seal. Minato yelled and the seal appeared on Naruto's belly. Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki looked at their baby while blood could be seen pouring out of their mouths. Kushina was in a deplorable state. Kuabai had been extracted from her, and she herself was injured. A large sharp claw pierced them right through them, and Kushina held the baby in her hands. Goho. Minato created a pedestal and Kushina laid Naruto's newborn baby there, tears pouring from her eyes. This was most likely the last time she would see him. I will put some of my chakra into Naruto as well. They did not even notice that several meters around them a transparent magic barrier began to form, which was supposed to stop any observers. Yours. It's our goodbye, Naruto. Please. Be a good boy for mom and dad. Observers on the outside could not see what was happening to Kuabai now. The barrier created an illusion to confuse them. What's going on? Kushina and Minato suddenly became even more sleepy, unable to keep their eyesight any longer. They both fell to the ground, eternal sleep consuming them. Katsu. The last thing Minato managed to hear were footsteps. Hagoromo at Satsuki entered the field. His appearance changed to that of a plain old man with a retained long beard, as he used henge. Hagoromo managed to muster up some more chakra and step out of his astral form into a physical one. He knew, Kurama's first half disappeared in the belly of the death god, and the other half was sealed in the newborn lying on the pedestal. Shinigami. He welcomed the death god with a small bow. Hagoromo at Satsuki, the sage of 6 paths. Long time no see, my old friend. A dark voice greeted him as if he hadn't seen him in a long time. Hagoromo, indeed, knew the god of death personally. He kept him company in the full moon, pondering the fate of this world, meditating on the meaning of life, philosophizing. Hagoromo confided in him about many things, shared knowledge with him. Ahaha, it's nice to see you, shame the circumstances. Indeed. The last time I saw you, you needed my help to strengthen the moon seal over Kaguya. I wonder what do you intend to do this time? Suddenly, the Shinigami began to shrink in size, its appearance resembling an astonishingly human one. Now before Hagoromo stood a tall man with hair as black as night and mirrored eyes. Soul-sucking could be seen in his eyes, and a longer stare into them could lead to death. I haven't seen your human form for a while. Shinigami gave an arrogant laugh. Naturally, only the chosen ones can see my beauty. Ahahaha. Hagoromo's sweat dropped at his antics. Ahem. So what do you need, my wonderful person? For Hagoromo. Ah, yes, so Shinigami-san? What are you doing here? Been a long time since we've seen each other. Familiar to Hagoromo, a beautiful girl flew towards them with her hands forward. This was the time when Shinigami's arrogant smile fell, and he was still processing the situation from the familiarity of the sweet voice. His head, like a broken recorder, turned mechanically towards familiarity, his eyes blank for a moment. Something flashed through them. Hagoromo didn't know if it was fear or something else. Oh shit, no. He turned to Hagoromo, serious face present. Sorry Hagoromo, maybe another time. I'm making a tactical retreat. You won't escape me this time. Smoke rose and voices echoed. In front of Hagoromo, who still did not know what was happening, two people crashed together. You little bug, get the hell off my back. No, found you. Get off. No. Damn you witch. Bonehead. I am the god of death, not bonehead. How dare you? Then I'm not a bug. These two know each other. Hagoromo thought, dumbfounded, seeing the interaction when the smoke cleared. You know each other? Hagoromo asked, to which Shinigami groaned. Yes. Shinigami-san and I are friends. We're not. I don't know her. Rimuru pouted. You don't like me. Excuse me. No, I despise you. Shinigami said with a cruel smile. Why? You? Don't you remember what you did last time? Rimuru shook her head cutely with blank expression. While you were on one of the populated planets in some dimension, you sneezed in your sleep, causing you to release some of your power, destroying the planet into pieces. You don't even know what kind of turmoil with appearing new souls I had in the soul dimension after that? For 2 years, 2 years I had to work day and night without a single moment of sleep. The tension in the air was so great that it could be cut with a knife. It was an accident, I don't even remember it. I was sleeping at the time. I didn't know I sneezed. Rimuru defended. I would like to remind you that Shinigami do not need to sleep, and neither do you, Rimuru. Oh, shut up. Hagoromo then closed his mouth after that. That's why I hate powerful beings in dimensions, always so annoying and causing problems. Huh? That was just one case. No, it happened a freaking 4 times. You've killed them. I managed to resurrect them with my power afterwards anyway. Yay. And all the **ing work I did back then went to shit itself. The killing intent was released from the two and the ground began to shake around them. Enough. A powerful voice snapped them out of their argument. Hagoromo's Rinnegan glowed with anger. You two? Apologize. Yes sir. We are sorry sir. They looked down at the ground, while Hagoromo pinched his knight with exasperation. Like with children. And these types were supposed to be older than him? Don't make him laugh. They didn't notice that something was moving in the bushes behind them. Obito Uchiha had a headache. You would think that from the fact that he failed to stop the 4th Hokage from sealing Kyuubi, or by the fact that he lost to him in battle. He was fooled by the usual academic trick? That he was too arrogant because he thought his Sharingan ability gave him invincibility? Nope. It was because he had already been hiding in the bushes for several minutes and still had no idea what these strangers were fighting about. What was the 3rd Hokage actually doing at this time? He didn't know, he hadn't seen him since the fighting started. Only when he pushed Kyuubi out of the village with some big stick jutsu. Obito looked at the 3 strangers once more. One was some old man with a long beard, small amount of chakra, easy target. Screw the fact that Obito had once been helping the elderly, all in the name of the greater good, for world peace where everyone would be happy. The other was some guy with mirror-like eyes and Uchiha black hair who was giving Obito a strange feeling, something dangerous, but Uchiha ignored it. Finally, a 3rd stranger. Obito didn't know what was going on here anymore and what some 12 years old very cute girl was doing on the battlefield. Wait, cute girl? He is surely not some pedophile, the snake is. His brain was barely able to function anyway, so why should he bother with another attempt to analyze this situation? But it wasn't time to rest yet. He still had a chance to get Jinchuriki for his plans and he took this chance. So Obito did what any villain would do in this situation, he attacked. Rimuru was with Shinigami and Hagoromo while they whispered a secret plan to each other. She didn't like that they didn't want to tell her, especially when Shinigami had a wicked grin creeping across his face. She didn't like it at all. They were planning something behind her back, but they had time. The magical cloaking barrier she put up was still going on and would be for ages, so there was no need to rush. Meanwhile, Naruto started crying on the side. Out of instinct, Rimuru walked over to him, looking at his clear ocean blue eyes, and after a moment, smiled. The prettiest smile she could do at that moment to reassure the newborn as she lifted him up. Naruto stopped crying after a while. Rimuru activated a warm and pleasant aura around her person to improve his mood. Well, aren't you adorable one? After a while, Naruto began to play with her beautiful bluish silver hair. Oh, you like my hair? They are pretty? I hope you will remember them. Naruto giggled and nodded his head a little, causing Rimuru's face to take on that of surprised one. You're smarty, huh? Rimuru felt that conversing with a newborn baby made her very happy. It's been a long time since you've had so much fun, a warm feeling when someone gets pleasure from your mere presence. Rimuru looked at the now unbreathing bodies of the blonde man and the red-haired woman. Sadness came over her at the thought of Naruto no longer having parents. However, there was nothing she could do. She had made a contract with Gramps that she would not defy his orders when the time came. Everything so that she would be able to have friends again. Not knowing about her previous friends still depressed her. Rimuru knew that loneliness would eventually consume her, so she wasted no time. Suddenly Naruto blinked and a look of fear dawned on his face. He began to wriggle. Rimuru furrowed her brows. She sensed a presence behind her with evil intent and or rather her body acted on instinct and Rimuru smacked the opponent where the face should have been. A crack sound entered her ears. The enemy was sent flying with tremendous force and hit an obstacle in the path. She looked behind and saw her opponent lying leaning against a tree, unconscious. The Monster Queen quickly put Naruto on the pedestal where he was in the beginning. Rimuru didn't know it, but Naruto made a displeased face. Shit. Rimuru cursed after getting close to him, noticed that the attacker was just a kid. 14 to 15 years old at most. In addition, she just hit the kid by mistake. The boy's mask was cracked and he looked asleep. Maybe a super glue can help. Rimuru pleaded silently and pulled a super glue out of nowhere trying to glue the mask together. Crunch. Crack asterisk. Mask shattered. Shit again. But what caused such a reaction in Rimuru was not only the mask completely turning to dust when she touched it, but the face of the boy himself, which looked like a roller had passed over it. Is it my fault? Rimuru wondered if the deformity on the right side of the boy's face was also her fault. If so, then she is in trouble. She caused an accident again? Rimuru narrowed her eyes. She really didn't remember most things, but there are a small amount of skills that stayed in her head. The young beauty leaned forward and touched his forehead. Obito's face began to glow until his skin became smooth again, all the deformities receding. The Monster Queen noticed, however, that his wounds still remained, only the deformities had receded, his face and shorn skin becoming smooth again. Suddenly something flashed in her mind. She put her hands in her stomach and pulled out a potion with a neon blue glowing consistency inside. She opened his mouth and gave him a potion to drink. After a while his wounds all started to close off. Rimuru wiped the sweat from her forehead. Little did she know that his Hashirama cell's arm had also regenerated to his original one. Oh, and then there was the mask. Rimuru used the All of Creation skill and a familiar white anti-magic mask with gray lines and a red mark in the middle materialized in her hand. Rimuru stared at the mask with familiarity for a moment and shook her head after a moment. In the end she put a very similar mask on his face but not the same. Well, have a good nap, boy. And that's how she left him. Rimuru. A voice called out to her. She recognized him as Hagoromo and walked toward them. Gramps and Shinigami-san suspiciously stood near the pedestal Naruto was on and had unnatural, kind smiles on their faces. Oh, she had a bad feeling about this. Oh, if only she knew how right she was. Rimuru-chan could stand still next to little Naruto. Rimuru cringed inside at the mere addition of Chan to her name and stiffened. It's still better thing cause Shinigami-san said that rather than Gramps, otherwise she would have considered him a pedophile, though she still preferred That Shinigami-san not call her that. Rimuru walked over and stood near the newborn's pedestal, not seeing a problem despite all her instincts screaming not to. After a lengthy discussion with Hagoromo, we decided that the best way to accomplish your mission would be to work directly through little Naruto. What? Rimuru didn't understand a single word he said just now. Stiffness of death? Hagoromo now. As Shinigami-san informed. Rimuru suddenly noticed that all her body functions had stopped responding to signals. What? What was this skill just now? I can't move or speak. She heard Hagoromo touched Naruto's stomach in a strange way, his previous seal starting to change into something else. The Great Seal of Death God. What seal? Why does her body feel like it's whirling? What's going on? What did Gramps and Shinigami-san do to her? Rimuru felt strange, until the darkness has come. Was it really necessary? Shinigami asked inquiringly with a slight grimace on his face. What do you mean? You know exactly what I mean. If you mean sealing Rimuru in little Naruto, then yes, it is essential for the future fate of the shinobi world. Shinigami-san frowned. As much as I enjoyed sealing that little devil for a while, do you know she'll probably kill you if she gets out of there? Rimuru is a valuable and extremely dangerous card. I sealed her because no one can know about her. Rimuru's very presence in this world already raises complications. Couldn't you just let her take care of young Naruto personally? Not through the seal. And what do you think would happen if someone knew about the power and might that Rimuru wields? What would the village do? Shinigami wondered. They would try to use her and treat it like another Biju. It was a fact. If a man like Danzo or someone else started having a vested interest in Rimuru, it would not be a good sign. Exactly. Hagoromo nodded sagely. Shinigami knew that sealing a being like Rimuru would have great consequences. Hell, even now he himself could feel the exhaustion as if it practically took all his reserves. Are you sure this was a good idea? I asked Rimuru to take care of Naruto, and she agreed, but I never mentioned how she was supposed to do it. Rimuru will keep his promise, and I will keep mine. I can hardly use chakra at all anymore. My physical body will be gone before long. I used up all the chakra to use the seal we created. Shinigami grinned. This seal is made to imprison divine beings. There is no chance for it to get out. Hope you're right. Hey, now I noticed that Rimuru is no longer here. And who maintains the masking barrier? Shit. Shit indeed. They quickly both disappeared after a while, leaving only the rustle of leaves. Hiruzen Sarutobi arrived on the scene a moment later, brow furrowed. As he looked at the wondrous seal on the newborn's stomach, most likely the most complicated seal he had ever seen in his life, and the bodies of Minato and Kushina lying lifelessly on the ground. He had seen the Shiji Fusion technique being used earlier, but then something strange happened, as if time had stopped, and Hiruzen only noticed after some time that Kyuubi was no longer there. Umbu. Disperse and search the area. He commanded his Umbu and lifted up the newborn from the pedestal. The seal was strange. The remnants of the peculiar chakra could still be sensed for some time, but it gave him no true hint. Minato. Just what have you done? Damn these two morons. Rimuru had already cursed them for several minutes from the start since she got here. Darkness was everywhere. And she was lying on something fluffy. Normally Rimuru really wouldn't have a problem with being sealed to Naruto for a set period of time. 100 years? That's nothing to her. 500 years? Same. However, there was a problem with the whole sealing system that she noticed. A person in whom a being was sealed into would gain some specific traits from that being residing inside. However, it's a little different with Rimuru. Naruto inherited one of the most unpleasant human traits from Rimuru, the immortality. After a while she felt the fluffy ground begin to move, and she dropped down into the water. Ouch! Suddenly all the lights with fire came on in succession. There was water all over the room, enough to cover her up to her knees, and she was like in some strange prison because there were big steel rods. Grrrrrrr. Rimuru gulped down her saliva and spun back around, big red slitted eyes staring back at her. Did she mention that she was trapped with this thing? Hi. She didn't know what to say, so she waved her hand to him friendly. Yeah, it was dumb idea. Grrrr. Well shit. Chapter 4, Rimuru meets Kurama. I have never seen such an expanded seal before, sensei. I'm sorry, but there is nothing I can do. Hiruzen Sarutobi sighed exasperatedly and rubbed his hair. Already mentally drained from all this, His desire was to already have a break after giving his hat to Minato, but it seems that fate had other plans for him. His successor died in battle with Kyuubi, and the last of the Uzumaki family ended up the same. Additionally, his student says he doesn't even know what the seal located on Naruto's belly is. He summoned him because when he inspected the seal himself he could understand nothing of it, as if it had some sort of charm in it that made it unreadable for them. Hiruzen had seen Minato use Shiki Fujin, which is the summoning of the god of death, Shinigami, but the seal itself, something just doesn't seem right here. Hiruzen was already a seal master himself, so he felt a little surprised to know that his knowledge would be of no use. Have you tried touching it? The third Hokage nodded sagely, knowing the effect of the touch. And what? Hiruzen paused for a moment and looked at his student. You can try yourself. Jiraiya placed his hand over the seal and tried to pomp chakra, arg. Instantly, the seal glowed with black lightning and electrocuted Jiraiya, sending him flying into the wall. Why didn't you warn me? You didn't ask anything. Hiruzen chuckled at the pretentious face his student was now making. Damn you, sensei. Oh, don't complain so much, Jiraiya. I had the same situation. Won't you share your pain with your old sensei? No thank you. Making a joke out of his students has always given Hiruzen some kind of enjoyment. He's old, so he still deserves some kind of entertainment. After a moment, a serious face dawned on his face once more, and his tone became strict. In any case, it looks like the seal has some sort of defensive protection. Suppressing chakra seals doesn't work to appease the defensive system either, so until we can't even touch the seal itself, our Funjutsu knowledge is of no use. Jiraiya finished, wearing a thoughtful look. Just what did you do, Minato? He probably would have used it if someone had bothered to mess with the seal. Or someone else already messed with the seal. I've never seen such a seal, and Minato didn't mention it either. Jiraiya concluded. Hiruzen scratched his gray from age beard. You were out of the village, he wouldn't have had time to tell you about it. Sunin doubted. He would send a letter, always bragging about his accomplishments. The third Hokage sighed again. Either way, there is nothing we can do about the seal, and I cannot think of dragging Orochimaru here. So what will happen to him? Jiraiya asked, looking at his student's newborn that was sleeping calmly. At first Danzo wanted to take him to Root, but I immediately refused to do such a thing, yet for him to meddle in the matter. Hiruzen said sarcastically. If Danzo took little Naruto with him, oh, he doesn't even want to imagine what would happen to him. What about the clans? Part of them must have proposed to take Naruto? You don't mean to tell me that the council prohibited taking the Jinchuriki under care. I wanted to propose taking Naruto under the guidance of the Sarutobi clan myself. The Uchiha clan was most insistent on taking Naruto through Mikoto Uchiha's intervention in convincing clan head Fugaku. She was a close friend of newborn Naruto's mother, Uzumaki Kushina. However, despite their efforts, the request was ultimately denied. Sunin gritted his teeth. God damn you, sensei. How much power has the council already taken from you? Over Konoha, huh? Jiraiya you knew damn well that I can't take a newborn with me because of my spy networks that I have to run. It's too dangerous for Naruto to be with me. Jiraiya I'm his godfather, and I bet you'll be like a grandfather to him while I'm away. Maybe you're still gonna tell me that he'll suffer the same fate as Minato did when he was a kid. No, maybe it will be even worse. Jiraiya complained while glancing at the clear blue eyes of his godson. He had the same eyes as Minato, if not even brighter. Jiraiya enough. Hiruzen struck the wall, making a hole, despite his age showing that his strength had not yet left him. This action shut down the agitated Jiraiya. Shaking the remnants of debris from his hand, Hiruzen only hoped he wasn't becoming like Tsunade. With her temper. He sighed for probably the third time this evening. I also wanted to have a rest already. I longed to hand over all this dem work to my successor. But what? Kyuubi appears, and Minato is no longer with us. It's not an easy situation for me either. If you can't take him, then whether you want it or not, Naruto will end up in an orphanage. That's end of discussion. Understand? Hiruzen was terrified of the sheer exhaustion he would have, as the rebuilding of Konoha rests on his shoulders yet to do. Jiraiya only had visible rage in his eyes and walked out of the Hokage's office, slamming the door after him. Crash yeah? Jiraiya-sama. Apparently the secretary behind the door was also horrified to see a pissed-off Jiraiya. Evidently he's making a scene there as well. Hiruzen Sarutobi sighed, for he doesn't even know which time today. He looked at his desk, seeing another stack of paperwork. It's going to be a long night. He took a cigar out of the drawer. At least the villagers shouldn't know that Naruto is a Jinchuriki. It hasn't been revealed, so it should be okay. Yeah. Torches on the walls illuminated the huge cage and the place itself. Ruoar. A great roar thundered through the whole place, the red eyes melting into her with disdain. A normal person would not be able to get up because of the amount of murder intent released. Meanwhile, a certain amber-eyed beauty was having a great time. Haha, missed it. Kurama, seeing how the human girl dodged easily against his tail's attacks from above, felt that he was about to snap. Nope, missed it. Ha ha ha, you'll never hit it when you're such a hothead? Pfft. She mocked him. The great Kyuubi no Kitsune? This was unacceptable, must make the stupid brat regret it. Losing faith in his heavy tail attacks, Kurama switched to his hands. Hooray! Geez, why are you so aggressive? Rimuru complained agitatedly, avoiding another sharp claw attack. It had been about 5 minutes since she got here, constantly having to be on the move to calm down the noisy animal. Guess I'll have to call the animal trainer. Kurama growled, allowing his fangs to show. Okay, admit maybe I overdid with this one. Since the beginning of the clash, Kurama has not spoken to her once, assuming that a mere ninja is not worthy of hearing his voice. Having successfully escaped another attack, Rimuru slowly grew bored and gave a frustrated call. Hey Mr. Fox, let's talk about T-dash. Crash! One of the red tails made its way and slammed her with a powerful impact, sending at the wall. Huge amount of smoke was released from the impact itself. Remnants of debris fell off the wall, but the blue-haired beauty emerged as if nothing had happened without even the slightest scratch. Rimuru stood up slowly, holding her head with one hand, not out of pain but irritation. Damn it, I'm telling you that hitting me with the same attacks over and over again won't do anything. You're just wasting energy. Oi, don't give me this annoyed look. A grimace appeared on the fox's scary face. The image of the Gramps with bright smile saying, Kurama is a friendly fox, you just have to get to know him better, flashed through her mind. Friendly my ass? Damn them all. She has been slammed into walls more than 10 times now, she bets. What a lovely foxy he is. And he tells her not to hurt him by mistake. Go ho, go ho. Oha. Fanning the smoke aside, she noticed another big hand of sharp claws aiming for her. He won't even let me breathe. Gathering herself together, she started running in the opposite direction along the wall. She heard behind her the sound of sharp claws rubbing against the walls to catch up with her. It looks like he was going to do a swing. The gigantic demon began to attack both of them with its hands again and tried to launch an attack on Rimuru, but the monster queen agilely dodged the attacks, showing off her combat skills. What am I to him? A fly? I'll show him who's boss then. Pardon me Gramps, but my promise not to hurt him will change slightly. Animals need to be disciplined and shown a sense of respect. Okay, I see, you asked for it yourself. The blue-haired ninja did something Kyuubi didn't see coming. She jumped straight towards him, bouncing off the wall, and closed her fist, while flying towards him with an impressive speed that his eyes had a hard time following, only for her fist to move forward. Seeing the seemingly 13-year-old girl who was about to deliver a blow to his stomach, Kyuubi simply laughed mockingly at her stupidity, expecting a weak blow that he wouldn't even feel. He wondered if she sure didn't want to accidentally kill herself right now. What he didn't notice was the small smirk forming on her face. Guaiker. Maybe it wasn't what he expected from a supposedly harmless blow, as he could feel his insides burning up from the very core. That wasn't how it was supposed to be. It took a moment to process what had just happened. Holy moly, how much power can a single brat have for him to feel pain? Thuadug here. Kyuubi thumped his back against the water surface of the cage, creating a huge water wave. Quickly trying to rise, he spotted the blue-haired girl about to deliver another blow to him in the form of a leg strike from above. Grr. His eyes glittered with rage. 9 tails formed a shield-like defense, blocking the strike. Still, even while blocking the hit, Kurama could feel the force behind the attack itself. A moment later, the shockwave caused by the collision made its presence known. Being the strongest of the tailed beast siblings and a warrior, Kurama was also not lacking in cunning as the fox he was. Now that he knows the strength of his opponent, he will go all out. Meanwhile, Rimuru found herself marveling at the strength the animal possessed, losing herself in the moment as the demon fox stood up. Whilst she was still in the air after delivering the blow, the monster queen didn't notice when the tails of red wrapped around her tiny body in an effort to immobilize her. The tails held strong, but Rimuru meantime got an idea of what the fox most likely thought, that these previous attacks had embodied all her strength. Huh? No way? She grinned mischievously. Meet the true power of Super Extra Cool Rimuru, Turbo Rimuru Power. Seeing the fox's face lose all its color, she felt even more satisfaction. To her, this fight was like a game from the start. Using a made-up funny skill of hers, Rimuru grabbed the tails holding her at once, and now, Rimuru pulled all the tails down with her until she reached the surface of the cage. The floor particles flew up and the surface itself popped cracks. In the meantime, Kurama again together with her hit the surfaces with his back. God damn it, how much strength does this girl have? Wasn't that an exaggeration? After all, he had stopped underestimating her, but even refused to imagine that she had more strength than he did. After all, to overcome the strength of his all tails clutching her, one must not be human. Kurama felt his whole body being lifted and widened, his blood-red eyes at the sight. Nanny the F***ck? Is she? This girl lifted him up straight into the air just by his tails? She lifted his entire body weight like it was nothing. Kurama pleaded in the back of his mind, seeing her growing smug look. There had been a moment of silence since the blue-haired woman had lifted him vertically, until he finally heard the words of the end, "Be ready? Crazy carousel of Rimuru." The nausea came quickly as she began to spin him until the sheer action of them began to resemble a tornado. "So are you having a good time now?" After a moment of spinning with dizzying speed, Rimuru took a swing and began slamming the fox to the floor like a rag doll to the right and left. Arg, ugh. Kurama actually felt unwell. He was the one who was supposed to eliminate this little human, and it looks the other way to him. Stop it, Ninjin. The fox's cheeks bulged out, showing his uneasiness. Rimuru was starting to feel bad about it, fun being fun, but now she just felt like bullying the animal. Taking another strong swing, gripping its tails tightly, the honey-eyed beauty threw Kyuubi up into the air. That it impacted the ceiling, making thun sound to end carousel. At this point, Kurama had enough. Gathering yang and yin chakra into his mouth, an armada of Bijutama balls reduced as smaller bullets than original shot out of his mouth. The atmosphere and air became heavier and harder to breathe because of the powerful attacks. Smoke was produced from the ceiling, and after a moment, Rimuru narrowed her eyes, noticing strange purple-like lights coming out of the smoke. The hot like molten spheres flew out of them, which seemed as if they had the power to destroy at least the whole country. During this moment, Rimuru activated the Hasten Thought skill, which allows her to boost her perception level by about 1,000 times. It could also be said that her thinking accelerated by 1,000 times, making her time to make the right decision at that moment extend by 1,000 times. Manipulating the strange water floating on the surface, Rimuru collected enough and gathered it into a solid point, water shield. She built a shield highly compressed from water, which she pushed towards the incoming chakra projectiles, SSCHHH. Just as she predicted, the dangerous chakra projectiles vaporized the water attack without even slowing down or decreasing in size. Now she just had a dilemma. She could take the hit because she would recover in a blink of an eye anyway. On the other hand, however, she didn't want any sort of a battlefield to be left of this place. It could potentially jeopardize her chance to get out of here. If she used Hellflare or something with similar destructive power, our blue-haired beauty fears the place wouldn't be able to withstand the explosion. HMM. She was sealed in Naruto, right? It wouldn't be appropriate if there were some explosions going on inside the newborn's seal. She promised to protect him in the contract. Geez, this is all the fault of those two morons? This whole situation wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the ceiling thing. She could have taken care of matters outside, but now she has to do such things. She'll pay Shinigami-san a visit later for that. He's the one who used the death seal. Is he that stupid? Who use a death seal that can seal gods on a child? Rimuru was really surprised that Naruto didn't die instantly in the process. The rest will come to mind after she neutralizes the bad Mr. Fox. Let's try this out then. Black Abyss. Large-scale black whirls formed around them. The whirls positioned themselves to counter the smaller Baijudamas that flew with high speed towards Rimuru. To Rimuru's amusement and Kurama's defusing state, the Baijudamas entered the black whirls, who then closed and disappeared, causing Kuwabai's jaw to hit the ground. There was no spectacular explosion or incredible collision, it just occurred quietly and only Rimuru's laughter could be heard throughout the huge cage. Black Abyss is a skill that connects the real world to an abyssal dimension from which nothing can escape. It works great if you want to trap someone there or move an opponent's attack into nothingness. It was originated by Reimuru during various battles with enemies who had incredibly powerful attacks that caused devastation. She created this skill to make it easier to withstand such assaults. Kuwabai slowly fell to the surface and dropped to his paws, tails swirling behind him slower than usual. His face stunned, he looked thoughtful for a moment unlike his usual self. The previous attack only confirmed him in his belief that he was not fighting a human. He couldn't sense chakra in this black technique at all. What are you? Asking directly, Kurama focused his giant eyes on the girl in front of him, trying to create pressure while unbeknownst to him threads unseen at first glance began to wrap around his 9 tails and body. Well, at least she finally got him to talk. From what I have heard, it is impolite to demand someone's name without giving your own. Reimuru replied with her hands behind her back with threads secretly coming out of them while she smiled angelically at Mr. Fox, trying to buy some more time. The 9-tailed fox growled, "Don't screw with me, girl." Though, she didn't expect him to try to attack her right away with his claws just for her being slightly canny. Oi, Shadow Matt here. Immediately Kurama felt a strong and uncomfortable squeeze on his body. He looked back and his tails were tied with some kind of thread. Then he could clearly feel his legs weakening as he fell on his chest. Apparently his arms and legs were also restrained. He turned toward the culprit, rage and indignation boiling visible on his face. The fox began to wriggle and some steel threads began to crack. Compared to the chains of that Uzumaki woman, those threads were nothing to him. Reimuru began to really feel exasperated as she extended her hand forward. Diamond gained, the steel threads changed to diamond threads and became more visible. Kurama noticed the difference in their durability right away. Goodness, now he might actually have a big problem breaking out of them. Wow, your face speaks for itself how much you hate me. Now, huh? But I don't sense this kind of purest malice in you that I saw in that black thing or shadow or whatever it was. Actually, I hope we get along. Kurama knew long ago that only his mouth wasn't thread-bound, so he began to gather chakra in it. While his thoughts were wandering on how to break out, the girl sat down on the ground in a cross-legged sit and started talking some nonsense shit about getting along. He was just waiting for the right moment, until he had accumulated enough to attack. After a moment, he opened his mouth, and the true and inimitable Baijudama emerged as an attack, a huge ball of chakra that had such a high level of destruction that it was comparable to a nuke. Okay, you're slowly getting on my list about people who should disappear, so I'm giving you one last warning. She slowly got up from the ground, brushing off her clothes and bending over. Fox ignored her warning completely and loaded the maximum amount of chakra into the attack. Baijudama shot out like a torpedo, molten until it looked like a huge ball of lava. The force within it concentrated so much that the surface and the water on it began to disintegrate or collapse. Kurama had a painted, vicious and satisfied grin that reached his ears, but a moment later it fell away as time wound slowed down for him as he watched the girl just slowly raise her hand up straight. After a moment, a sweet smile molded on her face that looked all too unfitting with the situation, as if wasn't afraid of attack even for a moment. Her hair also felt like it was rising gently from her power. He watched as her eyes opened and piercing amber eyes glowing with pure power made their presence felt. Feeling as if a superior existence that defied the universe itself was before you, that's how Kurama felt right now. Kuwabai no Kitsune felt so small now, as if all he could do was bow. The soft lips parted away and her mouth opened. All Kurama could hear at that moment were the words that escaped her lips, void slash. Mixed black as nothingness and bright as the purest of whiteness, a slash was created that cut his Baijudama in half in an instant. The remnants of his attack simply faded into thin air. Dumbfounded expression made its way on his face. Maybe listening to what she has to say isn't such a bad idea after all. Obito Uchiha woke up in the cave. Damn, he lost consciousness? The fight with his former sensei was definitely not one of the easiest. The only thing he remembers is the terribly strong blow that knocked him unconscious. He remembers how it hurt. Obito is surprised that he feels none of pain now. He also had no tobi on his body for some reason. Looking around, he spotted Zetsu and decided to make his thoughts aloud. Zetsu. Turning around. White side of Zetsu made a face and said, "Oh, he woke up." "Yes, he did." Black Zetsu added, his voice sharp as ever. "What happened? Did we manage to get Kyuubi?" "No, you fool. You've been outed by someone." "Who?" "Unfortunately we don't know, but..." White Zetsu said in a neutral voice while Black tched. "But what? And where is Tobi?" "Tobi went somewhere for some specific purpose." "But... you'd better see yourself? You look cool, Obito." The Uchiha produced a sound, while White Zetsu took out a mirror from somewhere. When Obito saw himself in the mirror, the first thing he spotted made him speechless. The reason why his body was lighter and easier to control was because he no longer had Hashirama cells in his left arm and abdominal area, just normal skin. But the biggest shock Obito felt was when he saw the absence of his deformity on the face by being smashed by a stone. Now he looked like a proper handsome Uchiha. This. How?" he asked in a shaky voice, touching himself on his now smooth face. Zetsu answered, "That's how we found you." Now Obito remembered finally. "Ahahaha, I was saved by a blue-haired angel? Yes, she didn't want me to die there because she wanted me to save this world. She was so beautiful. She came for me and healed me," Obito declared and then started mumbling something to himself. Meanwhile, Zetsus looked at each other. Did he hit his head? Actually, rather was hit. Black Zetsu didn't really know what to say in this situation, but there was no point in wondering. However, he was pleased that Obito had gained another motivation to fulfill Madara's plan, and in addition, he was healed, which made him stronger. White Zetsu ignored the strange sinister laughter of his other half and called out to Obito, "Obito, we still found a new mask for you. It was near where you laid unconscious." Obito took this present from an angel, new white mask, and only widened his grin. "This is my destiny. Ahahaha dash. The only thing that worries Black Zetsu is the supposed angel that healed Obito, but he can deal with that later." It had been 2 days outside and in Naruto's mindscape, making it possible for Reimuru and Kurama to get to know each other better. From what Kurama explained, a mindscape is present in every Jinchuriki. Normal people have it but can't enter it. Sometimes there are rare cases, but it doesn't matter too much. Reimuru also gave Kurama an explanation of what and who exactly she was and how she ended up here. Kurama finding out about the reincarnation thing didn't make him look that bad towards Naruto. However, he remembers what Kurama said when he smelled her, because by doing so he could confirm her words and learn more thoroughly what she was. An abomination. Kyuubi growled. His words echoed in her mind more powerfully than anyone would have expected. Sure, she had already been called many names. The enemies she met, however, usually called her a hybrid, a monster, a beast hidden behind an angelic appearance, but an abomination was something new to her. Something she hadn't ever heard. From what she heard from him, her scent was so different he couldn't even tell what species she was. Well, Reimuru even wanted to find out herself because she didn't even know anymore. It hurt a little. Additionally, her memories are even more blurry than they were 100 years ago. Her recollection of skills is also fading, so she took the initiative and started creating new skills. Kurama obviously noticed her expression and so he said, "We are both monsters, the species doesn't matter." Reimuru smiled a heartfelt smile. You on the other hand are not made of hate alone. So why don't you tell me why you're so hateful? I think you're actually a good guy." He then told her, like a story taken out of a book, how humans had treated the tailed beasts since memorable times and imprisoned them inside themselves, calling them vassals. During all this, the tailed beasts had no say in this matter. "I see. Is that why you hate people so much? Is that why you are so angry?" Kurama snarled. "No, it's all because of that damn fool Uchiha. He had me under control. I hate being under control. Damn masked man. And on top of that, he was sealed by the 4th Hokage. What a bad fate is." Well, now his rage is understandable. Wait, the masked guy. Did the masked guy have a white mask with weird streaks or something? Yes, I hate him. Rimuru nervously began scratching the back of her head and avoiding Karema's eyes. I may have accidentally healed him and... she announced quickly, playing with her fingers. Kuwabai, however, you what? No please, let me explain. No. Yep, it brings back memories of that meeting. Karema is finally not that angry with me anymore. Phew. The Monster Queen also shared with him about the deal she made with his father, but yet she ended up here because of their stupid idea. So you're telling me that you ended up here with me, because of Shinigami's original seal? Yahahaha dash. Karema laughed mockingly while pointing finger at her, holding back tears and almost rolling on the floor. Rimuru pouted, don't laugh at me, you're stuck here yourself. Ahaha. Yeah, but I'm used to being in a cage. This is not good at all. Rimuru thought, seeing the lack of sadness in the words when he said them. But you know. However, sadness appeared on her face instead of his, which Karema noticed and frowned. What? I'm worried about this seal. Karema only raised his hand and waved her off. You've already tried messing with it and you know that nothing will move it from our side. Your magic thing isn't working properly on this because the seal was created with chakra, not your magic. Additionally, as you said, the Shinigami himself enhanced the seal. Damn it. Karema was peacefully sleeping in the cage while a girlish sweet voice woke him up. He opened one eye, seeing the blue-haired girl. Rimuru's eyes shone with a new sparkle. Hey, I got an idea. What this time? Remember how you mentioned the only way to get out of here? Karema recalled. The safest way to get out is by unlocking the seal. For that, however, we need a kit, and he is still far too young to enter his mindscape. He told her. Yeah, there was something like that? I know how to escape the seal with different way. Karema waited for her to continue, and she rose from her sitting position and raised her hand. Dimensional transition. Her excited eyes went immediately to him. You can't. Karema shook his head negatively. Why, after all, the portal works, we can go anytime. It was a long time since last. Karema's sigh. If you leave a kit like this, he will just die. Your disappearance will be processed as an extracted Jinchuriki. And you promised old man you'd take care of Kit, right? I suppose you're right. Karema saw the girl made a thoughtful pose, thinking hard about something, too hard. In the back of his mind, the word cute came up. Wait, what? Cute? The legendary Kuwabai no Kitsune thought so? Not a chance. But you're here, so it shouldn't be considered an extraction. She stated victoriously with growing smirk. That's not how it works. When a person loses one arm, he will no longer be able to use it. The same is true here, except that your disappearance will end up killing him. But when a person loses an arm, he gets a prosthetic one. Karema deadpanned. No, just no. Damn it. I'm sorry, but because of me I think you're going to be here forever. Rimuru cried out and you could imagine the cat's ears droop sadly. Karema opened one bloody eye again hearing this information. The giant fox sighed. What this time? Naruto is immortal relative to age because of me. When he reaches his mid-20s he will stop aging, which means he won't die of age, meaning you won't get out through his natural death. From where did you get this idea? Judging from the fact that you told me how Jinchuriki get their characteristic traits from the creatures in the seals, Naruto already got your whiskers. Kuwabai admitted. However, it's a little different in our case. The seal is enhanced by Shinigami-san himself, and so the traits and attributes that Naruto will take after us will also be greatly enhanced too. Kuwabai's mouth formed a small frown. So what? I'm immortal too and he doesn't get this trait. Because you are made of chakra as life energy itself, therefore it cannot take over the qualities of your being in itself from you. However, I have immortality as a trait in my genes because I am not created from magic or some energy, but have a normal living body. Rimuru continued. His body will most likely be stronger as well. I even doubt if Naruto himself can be fully considered human now. I checked the state of his body and saw that his muscles had already started to form. And he is still a newborn baby? He'll probably notice something like that himself when he grows up a bit more. As much as he didn't want to, Karema had to agree with that point. Although, it looks like the blue-haired girl can also think, and really inquisitive when she can. HMPFF, it doesn't matter that much to me, because I have you here with me too, so it won't be boring. Of course those words would never escape his mouth, perhaps he has become too attached already, but the very aura of Reimuru attracts him too much. She is too good-natured sometimes. Thanks for thinking that. Way. No problem. Kurama smiled, showing his fangs. A week passed, and Naruto was taken to an orphanage. The village of Konohagure was struck by terrible news that stirred up hatred throughout the village. Kyuubi was alive. However, Hiruzen Sarutobi did not foresee that the information that little Naruto was supposedly Kyuubi's reincarnation would come to light. Chapter 3, Rimuru makes a deal ya haluo? I'd like to explain a few things that some of you may have wondered about. Why is there a femrimuru? So, when I look at all these fanarts and the anime itself in general, I've always just wanted to do something like this. What I don't take into account in this fanfic is that Rimuru is a genderless slime. I don't care about that at all. You can say what you want, but as I look at some of the fanart I feel better knowing that my fanfic Rimuru that I wrote is a female. Whisper maybe I will do pairing, who knows. Whisper Rimuru is more OCC in this fanfic, that's obvious, right? After all, I'm not the author of the original Tensura, I am the author of this fanfic. And besides, I never try so hard to make the character the same as in the original. So please, don't make fuss, not that I care. Rimuru is immortal in practically every aspect. I did it because I wanted to. I like it when characters are eons, thousands, millions of years old. I don't know, it adds that little something extra to the character for me. What happened to the great sage / Raphael / Seal or whatever it / his / her name is? Honestly I don't know anymore. XD. It will be explained later and Seal will probably come back very later, but it depends if I want to write a continuation. I'm not saying I won't write more, don't get me wrong please. Why Rimuru doesn't remember anything? Hello? He is slime, his memory's capability is infinite, so why? Same thing with Seal, I won't tell you until some time. The Narutoverse will also be a little different, but many things won't change. I hope at least. Today I'm going to try to write a slightly longer chapter than the rest, but I'm not promising anything. As if anything, English is my second language, there may be mistakes. I don't understand. The sage looked at her questioningly. Why you prefer to observe rather than act while you see what's going on down below? Hagoromo Atsutsuki wasn't surprised by the question, as he had asked himself it several hundred times. Was true that he had only observed what was happening in the shinobi world, wars, deaths, people hatred towards each other. For Shinigami's sake he had even witnessed when a person was so disgusted with themselves and all the harm they caused people. Suicides were a normal occurrence. Such cases were frequent, usually committed by people who had seen too much, who could no longer face the cruelty of the world mentally. Even veterans had huge problems with themselves, mentally broken down, but ready to do it again to protect something precious to them. This was the norm and would be the norm in this shinobi world. No one really cared about changing the world for the better. The people who preached the truth about a peaceful world were just talking, not taking action. Words can hurt hard, but they are still just words. In turn, people who tried to make a difference with their actions ended up on the wrong path. Older Atsutsuki had seen many such cases. He was considered the god of this world by many. A myth, a legend, so why was he so weak? He could have changed it. After all, he only had an astral body. The excuse that he couldn't take physical form was still just an excuse. The truth, still, was that Hagoromo was protecting this world from a more dangerous evil. It is already enough that he used up most of his power to fight the opposite Atsutsuki. If they send another one for his head it would be a disaster. In short, the situation was catastrophic. Even though he told